The starting of the day, you feel the first sun rays, full of possibility. And rising out of bed, she's foggy in the head, floating in tranquility. But coffee in her hand, the things that she has planned spring to life like flowers from a seed. So often on her way, she's making out okay. The morning train pulls slowly in. She'll leave the grand parade for the tools of her trade, a telescope and fountain pen. We'll look into the lens and see how the light bends, stretching to infinity. Astronomy, discoveries, astronomy, the mysteries, astronomy of what will be, astronomy, wait and see. She's moving down the aisle, I look away and smile through the window from my seat. Oh, relativity is all the same to me, 'cause parallel lines never meet. A measure in a space too deep to calculate, the chance and probabilities, astronomy, discoveries, astronomy, the mysteries, astronomy of what will be, astronomy, wait and see. Look into the lens and see how the light bends, spilling like a scattering of seeds. Measure in a space too deep to contemplate, stretching to infinity. Astronomy, discoveries, astronomy, the mysteries, astronomy of what will be, astronomy, wait and see. All right. Yay. Thanks, Dominique. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Red Velvet, named, as you can see, for what's behind us here. My name's Alan Williams. It's great to have you all checking in. And Dominique, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you for having us. It's a great honor to be inaugurating this new Velvet Room, so thank you for having me. I'm a graduate of this wonderful department, May 2022, Sound Recording Technology and Piano Performance. So I'm really delighted to be spending a bit of time here with you all.
Yes, indeed. So part of what I think Dominique, you and I had some conversations just about your experience as a student here, but also your experience as a type of student here that is not completely common, but not uncommon either. And I think you and I were talking about how that might be something to get the word out that there are different types of experiential learning here.
Right. To my knowledge, in the Boston area anyway, there is one music department that delivers the Bachelor of Music that can handle vastly diverse student bodies, and that's UMass Lowell. I'm just not aware of it anywhere else. I mean, I'm 68, so the big difference is the age, with my classmates. The experience is different because I am a university prof. I'm retired now, but all the while, the 6 years I was here, I was a university prof at the same time with PhD students, with all that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing is, so it's a very, very different student profile. But the interesting thing is, 2 weeks into it, my classmates had forgotten.
Right. As a faculty member watching this happen and thinking about it, I noticed what I expected to see, maybe a challenge in relating a sort of a differential line was completely erased. And it seemed to me that really what it was about was just sort of collective learning where everyone's bringing a little something of their own to the table. Mm-hmm. And what you're bringing is different from what everyone else is bringing, but what everyone else is bringing is also different. And it was an interesting experiment for me to see because there were actually several students around that time period who were coming back to finish degrees after spending some time away. And it wasn't just folks straight out of high school. But I think at the same time you were here, we were kind of in the midst of an overall rethinking of music, how we wanted to go about teaching music in the first place. So maybe it's that you came at the right time to contribute to the great experiment. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there's a serendipity to it. I mean, I have to say, a lot of things are due to chance. And when I decided to come back, it sort of hit me all of a sudden. Wait a minute, the old Bachelor of Music, back in the 80s, that was after I had built everything I needed to build at Bentley. I built all the analytic programs, all the way from undergraduate to PhD. I had graduated a few PhD students, and things were in hand. And more to the point, I had colleagues who could take things in hand as well. So I thought, well, it's time to go and look into the old Bachelor of Music. So I called the registrar, and then she said, well, let me go and check in the basement, see if I can find your transcript. Because, I used to be a student here. In the 80s, I was teaching math in the, here. It was then Lowell, University of Lowell. And at the same time, I was a piano performance major here. Now, what happened is the economy tanked in the late 80s in Massachusetts. And when I say tanked, it was a depression. 1/4 of the population lost their job. The state of Massachusetts is not all that great as running their finances, in general. Was, of course, were in terrible trouble. And I was simply laid off from a tenure track position. That's to tell you how severe things were in terms of the finances. So I had to get out of here. Get out of the music program, And it was the beginning of what we now call analytics, what they call big data now. Yeah. So I ended up in a database marketing firm, building models, and I could see the money floating around. I said to myself, oh my God, this is big. So we're in the late 80s, very beginning of 90s, And then somehow out of incredible serendipity, I get a job at Bentley, which is a very good business school, and teaching math, statistics, and whatever out there. And I told them, you guys, we need to build graduate programs in analytics. And they said, whatever, In those days, you did everything you wanted in university. It's not like now. So I built all these programs over time. This went on, and the piano had, the music had to take second stage where I was, there were times I was publishing 6 papers a year. I was, it was sort of just, and then one day it came back. Everything had settled. I said to myself, wait a minute, the old Bachelor of Music, So anyway, she found my transcript. And then John Shirley and, Norma, the officer, all that, they got me to meet John. And I said to John, okay, I guarantee you I have heard it all. I've had deans yell at me. If you think this is crazy, you can tell me. He says, you're just as entitled as anyone else to finish your degree. And he made arrangements so that I could go and re-audition with Meg, who was the piano prof at the time. And the rest is history. I got back in. I told Bentley, I told John that it wasn't to do piano performance. I know I'm not good enough. Don't worry about that, you guys. I'm coming to do the science of music. That was sort of the party line. Except it wasn't exactly true, but we'll get to that. But I did go to SRT, which is fantastically useful.
Well, and then, I mean, just to let folks know, SRT, Sound Recording Technology, that's basically the flagship program for the music department here and has been for several decades. But it is also intriguing that the lure to come back was to play piano, to make music, but you opted to come into this technology-based degree program. I'm curious as to why.
Well, I didn't know that I came back for the piano. I simply did not know. And I promise you this is true. I mean, for 30, you have to realize 30 years went by. And for these 30 years, I said to myself, for one thing, I'm not good enough to be a performance major. Maybe I had memories interested, from way back, that things were, the going was sometimes a little rough because I was, here I was teaching math at the same time as I was trying to do piano performance. Anyway, I was convinced I wasn't good enough. So I said, okay, sure enough, I'm a piano major, but I'm not going to do performance or anything like that. This is okay. Until such time as shows up Jacob Heiser.
Yes.
And he figured it out.
Well, I
he
think
figured out what was really going on.
And I think it's very interesting because I think a number of us have experienced that similar kind of, imposter syndrome is not the right word for it. But in a way, we second guess some of the things that drive us to do something. So in the second guessing, we fill that void with other things. Wonderful.
Right. Yeah.
So now you're immersed in an SRT program, and then Jacob reminds you or encourages, or how would you?
That's an understatement. Yes. Yeah.
To reconnect with what really, in fact, was driving you to resurrect coming back and doing a music program.
Yeah, I came back for the piano. There's no question about that. But now, having said that, so I ended up as a dual major, in large part because of COVID. I stayed 2 more years, and eventually I did end up as a piano performance major, sort of full circle. But I have absolutely no regret with the SRT program because it really taught me some very important things. And it's true that I did a little bit of science of music. I published a paper, and or two. I did do that, but the real motivation was for the piano. I did manage to have coffee at some point with Thomas Stumpf, who was the piano prof.
Indeed, I remember, yes.
35 and he said to me, you would have asked me, I would have told you straight away what you came back for. Because I do remember from 30 years back, you played badly, you played well, but the very, very strong love of the piano, he says he remembers it from so it's just I didn't know myself.
But that's a big don't know yourself, because a lot of people don't. We have those blind spots and we convince ourselves of otherwise. And I think that part of, theoretically, part of, I think, what our job as teaching faculty is to find those moments, find those things in students and encourage them, bring them out, whether it's something that's been put away or whether it's something nascent that's never really been identified but is present, and encourage that to come out. I'm not sure that always happens. But
I'm very impressed that was done. I something that I don't know myself. How can someone know? See through a person in such a way that you actually know what the motivation really is, something that I don't know myself. So, of course, I come out with an enormous debt to Jacob, which I can never repay, because then I knew, of course, I came back for the piano. Now I'm continuing my piano studies.
Which to me, that's the repayment of the debt to Jacob, because I think for him to see you move beyond our program here and to actually commit to what you're doing now in France, it's that's gratifying for him as a teacher.
Yes, and hopefully I'll do you proud. I would like to try to do this school proud. But what we were talking about, the capacity of this place to handle non-traditional students is, I think, extremely important and impressive. Because it's not everywhere that you can handle, 62-year-old showing up with, questionable piano capacities and many problems and a number of hang-ups. And it's just not the same as taking the very strong Asian student who can play all the Chopin etudes and all the Bach preludes. And it's just not the same equation.
Agreed. But it's also, I think in some ways, if we were speaking broadly to our student body and our programs, I mean, it's non-traditional seems to be actually the normative. I find so many of the students that are coming in have broad experiential backgrounds and diverse interests in music and what they want to do. Even if it's a shared common experience, what they want to do with that is often somewhat different. And maybe it is that we are kind of an odd program in that way, that we attract ever more students that are pushing those creative envelopes. But I also find that one of my discoveries is that often the faculty members here have a much richer set of experiences and tools than they're necessarily tasked to when we hire them to teach a relatively narrow gap of things. Turns out they can bring so much more to it. I remember the woman who's now directing the music ed graduate program, and she's retiring this year, but Gina Greer.
Gina's retiring.
Yeah, Gina's retiring.
Okay.
Good for her.
Yeah.
But she has a doctorate in education, but she had decades of experience as a commercial, music producer, working specifically for commercials, working for an advertising agency. So her experience is sort of corporate world, it's music, it's technology, it's all of this stuff wrapped into one. And you hire someone like that to run your music ed program, inevitably the technology is going to come in, these other things that are of her interest. And I think in many ways she reshaped what our music ed program is to reflect her experiences and her knowledge base, and then that attracts people who are intrigued by that, how to bring technologies into classrooms, et cetera. The fact that we have the SRT program here means even if you're a piano major coming in, you may in fact spend a lot of time thinking about signal flow and circuitry and balancing that with jazz, classical, whatever piano-based studies you're trying to do here. So
I mean, the SRT knowledge has been absolutely key. When COVID hit, all of a sudden I could run things from home because of the advice I was given by, Will Moylan and Brandon and folks about what to put in your home sort of studio so that you do have decent monitors and, acceptable microphones on your piano. And all of that made it possible for us to run a couple of recital hours, bang in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, from your house.
From the house. And it's one of the most incredible, experiences. But I mean, when you think in terms of business kind of parlance, if you'd like, in terms of value added, I would claim, and I mean, I'm perfectly willing to go on record, saying I think the value added by the music program at UML is much higher than, for example, a place like NEC, because at NEC they come in very strong, they come out very strong. If you're lucky, they don't come out worse. But I mean to say, the difference is not going to be huge. Right. Whereas at UMass Lowell, I know when I entered and when I came out, the difference is, I think, enormous. So in terms of value added, I think you can be proud of the value added that you are bringing. You're turning into, you actually are delivering the Bachelor of Music, that's a professional degree, to a vast diversity of people. And somehow, I mean, you're accredited, so you have to bring them to level, and you can do it.
Yes, it can be done.
It can be done because you're doing it. That's right.
I think maybe, although I love hearing you talk, I'd even love hearing you play even more if we can encourage a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what you're willing to play here on our technology piano?
Yeah, that's great. So what we're going to do is the funeral march, Chopin's funeral march, as a sort of a, take it as a peaceful sort of contemplative approach to the piece, and then later on we'll have something that's really percussive. So, excellent. So you guys want to hear the funeral march?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Dominique.
All right.
And I'll get out of the way. That's fabulous. Of course. And still alive. I mean, it's interesting, just the choice of music, right?
Yes.
And it made me think about many things, but one of them, of course, is returning to school, sort of the coming back from the dead, the bringing back things that maybe we've left dormant for long periods of time. And it seemed, well, why not have the funeral march? It sort of reminded me in some ways of why I started playing this guitar, because I was a piano major at
That's
NEC.
right. Yeah. I remember
And
that.
took up guitar as a way of avoiding finishing my dissertation. And started writing songs after a 12, 13-year complete silence in making music. And I was teaching here, and it seemed to me that kind of music making wasn't really part of my job here, and I needed to keep it separate and somewhat secretive. And finally, someone here said, "Hey, I heard you playing some music," and encouraged me to integrate it. Say, no, you should be making the music here with us, showing us, talking, and bringing it into to the teaching today. And with that kind of encouragement, it sort of turned full circle. So my band ended up playing several concerts here where I had the luxury that most singer-songwriters don't have of saying, would the orchestra mind sitting in? Can I get the chorus to come in and sing on a couple of songs with me? And it's an amazing, resource to have at your fingertips. But it's the same thought of resurrecting things in an environment that encourages that. And I was just loving watching you reclaim some Chopin on this machine, in this room. We're streaming out. It's just such a hybrid of old and new at the same time. Yeah.
It's I think that's sort of like the crystallization of the entire department, Now, of course, I was just going to ask, did I pass my jury? Because you certainly heard a number of my juries, I'm sure.
Yes.
Over time. And I mean, now I have to do things by memory. The middle section is incredibly difficult to memorize, I find, of the funeral march. Because it's sort of like, the harmonies are not that complicated, but they're sort of quirky, and it's very strange position. I don't find it enormously simple to memorize things like that. I find it easier to memorize the Cacciatorian. And then, memorizing Bach Prelude and Fugues is an abomination, but I mean, some things are necessary.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I mean, the memory.
Oh my God.
Well, but it's interesting to think a little bit about just your thoughts about why something is or isn't easy to memorize. Does it shape your connection to the music? Does that why do you think that middle section is challenging?
I don't know why it's so difficult. But on my exam, program last year, I had the Chopin Nocturne, and the posthumous one. It's also difficult to memorize. I think the chords are in slightly strange positions at times. Strange inversions.
And strange makes it more difficult to memorize.
Because now mind you, if I have several A flat major chords, if I miss an inversion or two, maybe that nobody notices. I mean, I had some errors in the middle section between you and me and the grand piano. And I mean, if there's one thing you learn in all the performances that I was able to do here, you learn how to hide mistakes. I mean, the second, I was playing the Rachmaninoff C-sharp minor prelude in the second recital that we did from my house. I invented it derailed in the last page. I invented the entire last page.
Yes, I've done that. I remember when I was a teenager. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've done the same. I was at like teenager piano contests, and you've got judges, sort of with the scores. And I'm playing, and I just decided to improvise the last half of it because I forgot the whole thing. And you could hear the flipping of the pages. What is he doing? Where did it go?
But at least you knew how to improvise.
And you get up from the piano, and you know what you've just done. But half the room was like, "Oh, that was lovely, very, very nice." And I thought, "Oh, that was no, it was terrible," because I was valuing the wrong thing. I should have been thinking, "Yeah, imagine I improvised a whole piece," but instead I was measuring.
Yeah.
No, I didn't play the piece I was supposed to play.
Well, that's right. No, I mean, what amazes me is I had classmates who told me they didn't notice a thing.
Right.
And piano majors even, and good pianists. I mean, what do you mean you didn't notice? The entire last page was,
Well, because I think
It was-
if you're measuring it to what the
Yeah.
piece is supposed to be, then it's a mistake. But if you're measuring it in terms of, was the musical experience captivating? Did it take me somewhere? Did I feel part of something?
That's
Then
right.
I feel like I would say it's not hiding mistakes, but rather building something
Mhm.
out of them. So, because you could make a mistake and just stop. Say, "Ugh."
Oh no, that's the no. I mean, if
Yeah.
you know, but it's a whole, there's a whole learning that goes on here. I really can say with confidence that this is a school that teaches you how to perform, because I certainly did not know. The first time this came up with your class, the musical practices, you had to do 5 little performances, if my memory is correct. We get to performance number, and the 4 first ones, it was very easy to hide, because with lots of people. But the last one, this is a problem, there's only 3 or 4 of us, And this was right about the time when it transpired that in the piano ensemble class that I was enrolled in, all of a sudden we're planning a recital. What do you mean a recital? A recital with an audience recital? Oh, no. We're not doing that. And Jacob Heiser, yes. And I say, no. You can imagine who won that battle. So, but he was right, of course. I mean, so there he says, you're doing it. I mean, and there was no. Which brings me to an interesting point. When I was here with a 62-year-old, the whole question of authority was never an issue, in the sense that I was completely aware that my professors here have the authority, and under no circumstance would I ever put anybody in a position where I even look remotely from a mile away that I'm questioning that, because I am a university prof elsewhere. That was one of my one of my lines that was absolutely, and I was careful with that.
You never crossed that line.
No.
Ever.
Because I had very high respect for, I had very high respect for my classmates, and very high respect for the professors here. When I see Tim Crane, every week after week after week, spending time listening to me because I'm there, Dr. Crane, I'm upset with this, I'm worried about this and that recital. The number of times he came to listen to me in the recital, these are real educators that spent the time. And I've been an educator myself. I'm a perfectly presentable analytics prof and all of that. But the way that people teach here, I think in some cases I've never seen anything like it before. And I've been around the block. I mean, someone like Tim Crane I've never seen. I mean, never.
Well, I think
and
that's
a lot of professors are
that there is
very dedicated.
Yeah, there's a community of the professors here who share. I think in some ways share a degree of dissatisfaction with our experiences as students in more traditional settings, and are aware of, if I ever had a chance to do it differently, this is how I might do it. And there were meetings many years ago around John Shirley's kitchen table with Dr. Crane and myself and others, sort of rethinking, how can we make music education relevant, vibrant, creative? How can we encourage rather than discourage? But at the same time, how can we keep a level of standard, an expectation that we think you can do something quite amazing, and we're going to hold you to that. So Jacob sees that you are capable of something quite amazing in ways that you aren't yet able to see at that time, and is tasked with, over time, I'm going to figure out how to get Dominique to realize the potential that she clearly has.
This really is amazing, I have to say. How can you figure out, you try to force a 62-year-old to do what they don't want to do,
Try to force a 12-year-old.
Yeah, but I mean, and he did it, and I mean to say, I'm immensely grateful, because of course he was right, and that was, that really was why I came back. I mean, I ended up as a performance major, so, but the interesting thing is, in moments of very high stress, like, recital hour is very stressful because it's intimidating and everything. He always say, it's going to be great. Doesn't matter if he's heard the piece or not. To this day, I have even high stress things in Paris, like the class audition or something where I have to have everything memorized. And I don't, it's going to be great. And if he doesn't say it, he send a text, it's going to be great. It doesn't matter if he's heard the piece or not. The fact that he said it's going to be great then all of a sudden it sort of vaguely validates it, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
So you know. But anyway, when I see what people have done for me here, you know, Jacob, of course, but I mean yourself, Tim Crane, Jeff Fisher. Jeff was one of the first professors I had when I arrived, and he said to himself, what the hell is this all about, you know? Because Amy she had to put me in an ensemble, she puts me in percussion, you know, the Jeff's percussion ensemble. And Jeff is thinking, what the hell is this person? You know, so he asked me to come to his office, and he says, can you know, he had me sightseeing this. And here is the thing, you guys, I can sightseeing anything.
It's true.
Because you learn that, you know, in the French system. So he says, oh my God, she can sightseeing stuff, you know. So that somehow...
Oh, no, I think Jeff was very happy after that meeting to have you in his ensemble.
Jeff was great. I mean, he were, you know, I mean, I didn't know the front or back of that, I've never seen a marimba or anything like that, you know. And I was taking conducting with Mark. Fascinating. Anyway, there's so many fantastic memories, you know, of all that time. So you should be proud of what you do, really. In moments of stress, just remember what you're achieving. You know.
Thank you. That's
the next time something rough happens, just remember.
Which could happen any second. I think I might actually play some music if that's. Speaking of taking a risk and rough things.
Yeah. It's time for your song, right?
It's time for my song.
Excellent. Oh, wait,
all right, I'm going to put away this mic to get a different mic. Yeah. This is the sort of voice of God mic because you can hear it resonating across the world. Let's see. Yeah, this was a song. I guess maybe the resurrection theme or the gone and coming back. This one's called Prodigal Soul. If I remember how it goes. Search of things too dumb to mention, but I lost my way, I lost my nerve. Well, I didn't notice, I wasn't paying much attention. Will my prodigal soul return? Well, I set a match to everything that once had mattered, but some bridges can't be burned. Well, I know my way back home by the wreckage I left scattered when my prodigal soul returns. When my prodigal soul returns. Forgive me for the road I'm on. Forgive me where everything went wrong. Forgive me for being gone so long. So put an end to all the rumor and conjecture. Well, I got what I deserved. And now after many, one too many misadventures, will my prodigal soul return? Will my prodigal soul return? Well, I'll tell you everything I've learned. I am lost. You'll understand it, but that don't mean that you'll believe it when your prodigal soul returns. When your prodigal soul returns. Say, I will. Yeah. It's me. I hit it with my elbow. We've got Wes Anderson coming through my phone. It's awesome. I don't know why. Yeah, no, my elbow must have hit the phone. But it sort of felt like it. Anyway, Grand Budapest Hotel, it's somehow on my phone. Anyway.
It sort of worked, you know. It
Yeah.
kind of made it. Oh, that's terrific.
The ringer was off, but anyway.
That's cool.
Don't have the voice of God anymore.
Wow. Well,
Maybe
that's
we can
fascinating.
trade places and wrap this one up.
We go to Cacciatorian.
Yeah, well, let
Yes.
Dominique take over
All
the
right.
piano
Okay,
and
okay.
maybe just do a quick thanks to everyone involved,
Many thanks.
especially to Ramon Castillo for putting this entire crazy space together. It's got lights, it's got velvet, it's got. I don't know if y'all are paying attention to this. Okay, here's the thing that blew my mind before we started. The little logo in the corner of your screen is actually responsive to sound. So as we're making sound, the little dots spin faster, slower.
It's amazing.
Anyway, yeah, hours of fascination in the room. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in and for checking us out and for hearing us talk a little bit. And Dominique, do you have anything you wanted to say? And we'll have
Yes,
you play.
lots of thanks to everybody, the people who came, the people who are remote, the people who are here, the students who helped, Prince who helped yesterday,
Yes.
and Ramon for setting this up and for all semester after semester after semester of getting us lined up in the, in the applied lessons, for which you should be decorated, I have to say. Decided who goes with which professor. Oh my goodness, and getting all the schedules organized. So I kind of understand what kind of an enterprise it is and how difficult it is, to run a music school with all the scheduling problems and all the technical problems and everything. So for all of that, many thanks.
Indeed.
It was
All
so
right.
much fun. All right, so you guys want to hear Cacciatorian?
I think we wanted to hear some Cacciatorian.
Okie dokie.
All right, I'll get out of the way, let you play, and yeah, no. I think camera angles and all.